All right guys, before we get into the video, we've had so much success with giveaways on the channel, I thought I would drop another $1,000 on one subscriber. All you gotta do is subscribe, like this video, follow me on Instagram at Justin Khan, and comment below a reason why you need the 1,000. And then I'll drop it on you in a future video. All right, on to the video. Today we're gonna talk about what not to do in your startup from two experts who have done almost everything wrong. And it's not that kind of shit, I did everything wrong. We actually immolated $70 million a piece. The whole thing was a stunt so we could make this video and you could learn from it.
The $70 million MBA.
This is it's 140 million because it's between the two of us.
140 million.
70 each.
How's it going? I'm Justin Khan from Justin.tv.
What's up guys? It's me, Justin Khan, your favorite founder's favorite founder, and today I'm joined by my good friend, James Beshara.
What's up guys? Glad to be here. You could say I'm favorite founder's favorite founder's favorite founder. Would that be fair to say?
I'll give it to you.
All right, thank you.
I'll give it to you. So James is a serial entrepreneur. He's was the founder of Tilt.com, which was the easiest way to raise money for anything. I used it to raise money for a party bus back in the day. I know, it's like now in the world of GoFundMe, that seems like kind of lame. It was pretty cool. It was kind of like Kickstarter for anything. I actually invested in the company. And you guys went on to raise what, 20, 30 million?
70 million.
Oh shit.
Burned through 68 of it over 5 years. And yeah, had a sideways acquisition to Airbnb. Lost the majority of your money, which I'm sorry about.
It's not the first time.
But it's a little bit of a case study in being friends. You can lose your investors' money and still be friends on the other side.
Yeah, which is, that's great.
Dude, I make up in friendship what I lost you in your bank account.
In dollars, exactly. All right, here's my first one. Don't wait forever to start your company. Like I've seen tons and tons of people, they're always like waiting for the perfect opportunity. They're psyching themselves out. They work at a big company. They say they want to start a startup, but they don't do it. They get scared. They want the perfect opportunity. They want to de-risk it 100%. That's like my number one.
We joked about it being a $140 million MBA, but honestly, building a business it's one of the cheaper ways to get an MBA. It was cheaper ultimately than an actual MBA. You should start yesterday.
Love that. So what's a real mistake?
I think one that I think about a lot is Jeff Bezos that said this. He has a commitment to truth and not consistency.
Yeah.
And I had a massive commitment to consistency of I said this a month ago. Our team already started building this 3 years ago. And it makes you semi-allergic to new insights.
Yeah.
And so it was no, I told investors I was going to build this. I would still feel this drive to stay consistent. I told them we were going to build this instead of being much more flexible to insights.
And possibly learning and pivoting earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
I was too hard-headed around that.
There's a lot of momentum around startups where you feel like you've built this, you've told all these people, I'm going to do this thing. Everybody's kind of lined up to build it, all the product teams, the marketing teams, whatever else, they've lined up to do your vision. And then you're like, if you have doubts, you're kind of like, well, I want to stuff it down because there's too much at stake. I got to go on this path.
I don't want to be someone that's changing their minds, but that's the hallmark of wisdom and the ability to take in and searching for insight is changing your minds.
Here's one that I made the mistake of. Don't start a services company. It's terrible. What's the services company? A services company is one where you get paid for your time. Basically, if you're getting paid for your time or you're employing people who are getting paid for their time, number one, those types of businesses are not valuable because they're entirely based on the talent sticking around, and effectively the margin gets compressed to zero as things get competitive for the talent, and competition starts bidding up the price of talent, and it's not a high leverage company. If you build a product company like Magic Mind here, or like Twitch, then if you stop working on it, it will continue to be valuable, right? It's something where you have leverage, and you're not always beholden to, you're not on the grind of doing more and more work and you're just monetizing your hours. That's a lesson that I did not learn the first time. I didn't learn the second time. I have finally learned it now.
What are some other businesses that you would never start now that you've seen behind? You've invested in a bunch and you've seen behind the veil. Ones
that I've started that I would never start: cleaning company for sure. Law firm, for sure.
And how come? Why on the cleaning company?
Well, cleaning company, it's super low margin. Everyone expects something different. In a services company, the clients often expect all the clients expect different things, right? Someone might want their house very thoroughly cleaned, and they might someone else might want it super cheap. But they're buying the same service, and then if you do it super cheap, then the person who wants it thorough might be really pissed off. If you do it super like thorough, but it takes a lot many hours, then the person who wanted it cheap will be pissed off. So it's really hard to make everyone happy. You know, that's one of the things. And the same is true. You think that's only for cleaning, but it's also true for law firms, right? Some clients might want the job to be done. They might never want to talk to you, right? They just want to not think about it. They want to outsource it to you. Others might want to like know every single detail, right? And so the problem with the services company is just delivering the service is very, very tough to do consistently well for all different types of clients.
Right. Whereas, with a bottle or
a bottle of liquid,
it's the same
like,
thing.
What's your margin? It's like going to be like, you have a high margin, it's probably like 70-80%. You just ship them the bottle. This is what you get. That's it.
Yeah, one of the mistakes that we made, and I look back and it's like, God, that was so painful, was lack of focus. And it was this, like you could say, focus is power, and everybody hears it, and it's like, yeah, focus is power. The biggest mistake that I made was not realizing that, like, once you start mining for gold somewhere, and you find some gold, there's probably a shit ton of gold, just keep mining that.
Yeah.
And I would get addicted to the beginnings of new things. And like, I'm addicted in general to the beginnings of things.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, oh, okay, that's going pretty well. I bet we could find another gold mine over here.
Yeah.
And let's basically dilute our efforts over here. And then honestly, I remember at one point we were building 3 products that people lukewarm liked.
Yeah.
Not a single product that people loved. And that, when I look back, I'm like, that was the point in which there was no return, because I had diluted all of the efforts, the resources. We were years in.
That's really interesting, because talking about that with Emmett and about Twitch, and I think the same thing was true with Twitch. Even like it's true even in the later stages of companies where, you know, you have this, like, one thing was working, right? Like on the monetization side, how they were making money. One strategy was working, and it was like, oh, I should pay attention to these other strategies that aren't working as well. But really, in retrospect, years later, he's like, actually, I should have just paid attention to the one that was working really well, because that one had another 10x to go, and these other strategies, like these are like a waste of time. They're a distraction.
That's why focus is hard, is because you're basically saying, I got into this for the excitability of creating things, but you're like, I'm going to go headlong in for the year after year optimization of the thing that you've created.
The energy that gets you that first step of the way and gets a product out there, that's not going to carry you the next 99%. Oh, here's one. Don't start companies with co-founders that you just met without working with them a little bit first. You know, one thing that I think is really important is values alignment. You know, making sure that when you work with somebody, you and them have the same values. And I think that's critically important, because that when disagreements happen, it's usually because underlying values are different. Like, and there's no right answer. It could be like, some people value efficiency in the workplace, other people value face time, right? Some people they want to grow a company to sell it and make money. Other people want to grow a company forever, right? So having those like that values alignment on what's important, how you want to like run a company is really critically important. And oftentimes, I see founders just find like, who are the people, like, I need to work with a programmer because I have an idea and I need a programmer. So like, who's a programmer? Like, literally, who is there? You know?
Right.
And I think that can lead to a lot of downstream negativity.
Yeah, that's the people that you surround yourself. One of the biggest mistakes that I remember making is choosing people based on basically like, will they validate that this is worth working on? And like, will they join me? And I was just so surprised people would join me. I actually wasn't picky enough. I wasn't greedy enough.
Yeah.
Of like, no, I really need to take as much time as possible, because we would bring on our early employees. I love my co-founder, but our early employees, many of which it was just like, who would enthusiastically parrot back to us that this is worth working on? And no one wants to be alone, and no one wants to be just completely isolated working on something. And so, especially early on in your career, it's so tempting to just bring on your best friend or your roommate that doesn't have a job but is really excited about the potential of something, versus being pickier on like, okay, what is the competency that this fills that we don't have? Yeah,
whenever you can be selective on who you can join your company, I mean, talent is everything. The best companies that I know in Silicon Valley got the best people. Like, that was it. They were just the pickiest on people. They ruthlessly recruited the most talented people that they knew. That's the whole game, really. It's like, talent is the differentiator.
What are some recruiting mistakes that you, like big meta mistakes that you made?
Yeah, One huge mistake. That's a great one. One huge mistake. I love doing this with somebody who's also an interviewer, right? Like it's great.
Oh yeah, check out my podcast.
Great. Yeah, check below the line. One recruiting mistake. You always want to do background reference checks. Never don't do background reference checks. When you interview someone, you're gonna say, hey, do you have references? I hope you ask that. They're gonna give you a list. We'll call those people and talk to them and ask them, what kind of person do you need to surround this person with? Not like what are their weaknesses, because they'll like make they'll soft pedal weaknesses, but just like what are the things you need to complement this person with, because that tells you what this person perceives of as that person's weakness. Then I try to get in touch with people who this person did not list, and I have discovered some bombs. Like I've had people say like, do not hire that person no matter what, who worked in this, I was hiring an exec, it was someone in this organization. And like, that's not, you can't get that through the the non-background reference.
Doing that extra 20 minutes. It's not even like,
Yeah.
Emailing a few people that might have worked with them, triangulating into those people and then doing the calls with them for 10, 15 minutes each. That could save you 3 months of unwinding a mistake in recruiting. The recruiting mistake and this is kind of a meta mistake as well, is I was so focused on the results of filling the chair with someone good that I didn't build out the process. We didn't build out enough of the process to where then you'd find someone that's pretty good and then be like, wow. And this is the downside is that then you're like, well, it's going to take so long to find someone else.
Yeah.
Let's try
to make it work.
Let's try to make it work. But if you have a badass process, then you're like, no, this. I don't know. There's a couple yellow flags. I'm not feeling it, and we've got 4 other people that could be a great fit. You're so much stronger if you have those alternatives.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll riff on that and say, never try to make it work. If you have a doubt about an employee, there is no doubt.
Yeah.
And when you're a startup, you have limited resources, limited time, limited attention. My advice is always, you should let that person go as soon as possible and pay them whatever severance you have to do to make it guilt-free for you. So like if you hired someone, you're like, oh shit, this person is not a culture fit, they're not able to do this job or they're not adaptable to like pivot to the next job or whatever. Part of you is a nice guy and you're saying, I want to give this person a chance, maybe they can make it, I can coach them, etc. Well, in a startup, you have limited time, limited resources, and that person is basically sitting in the seat of someone who could be crushing it at the job. And what you really need to do is say, hey, thank you for joining. I messed up defining these job requirements and in the recruiting process, and here's like 3 month severance, 6 month severance, whatever it takes for you, and this is not a good fit.
To where they're kind of happy.
Yeah,
with,
they're like,
with the
shit,
massive generous severance,
yeah.
and you're like, wow, that's such a good point to where it's guilt-free, because then you really don't hesitate on that. And they don't, God forbid, they build out a team. If there is any doubt, there is no doubt.
Dude, that one's a gold mine. That one's gonna save somebody like years of their life.
And that really is like, I think that as a younger founder, it's so easy to be like, well, what do I know? I don't know what an expert looks like. But the truth is, I learned this at Airbnb. A great hire delivers 120% of what you expect, to where there is no fucking doubt at all. You're basically like, whoa.
Yeah.
Every big problem will out of their way.
It's the test is like, I can't imagine surviving without this person, right?
Right.
Versus if you feel like, oh man, I wish I could go back in time and make a different decision and not hire this person, then you know in your heart. Oh, here's a good one for the both of us. Don't just raise a shit ton of money just because you can.
Dude, you can overwater a plant. Indeed.
Yes, you can overwater a plant. That's a great way to put it. Like, it is so tempting to be like, well, my friend just raised $1 million, so I should have $1 million. $10 million, so I should have $10 million. $100 million, so I should have $100 million, and so on and so forth. Because human beings are comparative by nature, right? You look at other people around you and you're like, you want to be doing as good as them. That's human nature. And fundraising, even though it seems, when you just start off and you have a company that's, 1 person and 2 people in a garage, it might seem like very aspirational and out of this world to raise $100 million. Eventually, you're in that world and you're like, oh, my peers are doing this, so I should be doing this. This. And
comparison is absolutely cancerous in the entrepreneurial game. Because we were in the same batch at Y Combinator and one of your tours through. And some of the best companies in our batch they were so under the radar.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, I can't believe they overcame that. It was the brilliance of them just whittling away until they had something that people really loved. I was so scared that we weren't going to get there that I was like, oh, out of insecurity, let's go raise 500K in the beginning. And I thought, okay, once we get that, we're going to be able to solve all of our problems.
Yeah.
And then it was 2 million, and then it was 12 million, and then it was 35 million. And I was like, oh, solutions are right on the other side of funding. And it's never the case.
Yeah, that's backwards. Only put money, like money will just exacerbate your problems if you don't have product market fit. Because then you'll be like, I'm going to solve this by hiring a shit ton of people and putting them in a room, and they're smarter than I am, so they're going to figure it out. Well, turns out more people does not help solve product market fit, right? And then you're going to say, well, every problem that comes your way, you're going to solve with money. So like, oh, people are complaining about the facility, so let's get a bigger office. Let's have snacks. Let's have lunch. Let's provide car service, whatever it is. And the problem is then you're going to have this huge cost basis, like operational, expense, and it's just a heavy lift to be able to ever become profitable on that.
And like we were saying earlier, some of the other mistakes are directly tied to how big you grow the organization, and then it really is difficult to be inconsistent, change your mind, absorb some new insight and say, okay, we need to turn the 18-wheeler and we're in an alley. Like that's just, versus when you stay small. I think this is a true point for whether you're building you have a food truck, or whether you are building a massive software business with 1,000 employees, to just double down on what you're saying. Money will exacerbate whatever is already happening. Problems, exacerbate it. If you got a great solution, pour money on it. It'll exacerbate the solution. Sadly, we had something that people lukewarm liked. Money became the solution to every problem we had of like, all right, let's solve it with people, let's solve it with money, let's solve it with people, let's solve it with money. And that is, I've never seen that work out in the startup realm. 100 investments and building companies for 14 years.
For sure.
This is something you and I have chatted about, with focusing on results over process. In everything that I look back that I did in my 20s, so much of it was so milestone based. But in building a startup, it was, in my mind, it was like, get to this growth metric so then we can raise funding to solve problems. And it was this constant next step, get to this growth metric so we can solve these problems. And then one day we're gonna have this massive company that maybe 40% of me felt like was going to improve the world, and 60% of me was just ego engineering, financial engineering, and that was the outcome that I was trying to go after. And it just crumbled under the weight of all of these ambitions and no solid processes beneath them. The single biggest mindset mistake that I had was I hated process.
Yeah.
And it was just, let's make it 10 days from now to some result, over and over again.
Okay, one I have is, don't just build whatever's in your head without talking to your customers. This is one where we spent 5 years at Justin TV in the dark, just building what we thought was like a live video site that we thought would be cool. And some people used it, but we never really understood what our customers wanted until Emmett was like, hey, we should focus on gaming. And then he went and talked to a bunch of gamers, and the end result was Twitch. We ended up building something that was really resonated with a certain community. And I feel like that is such a big mistake that people have in the early days. You're uncomfortable thinking like, oh, I have this idea and maybe people won't like it. Right. So I'll just build it and then they'll use it. It's a fantasy, right? It's easy to have the fantasy of like, if I don't talk to anyone, I just build it, then people will anonymously come and use it, and then I'll be revealed to be a genius.
Or the super junior one of like, someone's gonna steal my idea, so I don't want to tell anybody about it.
Yep.
I think that is tied to a mistake that I think about a lot. Is I started Tilt to run. I don't think anyone should start something to run away from something. It should be, you want to start something, not because you got a shitty job, not because you want to circumvent the system and be your own boss, but you should start something because you want to run towards something. With Tilt, it was like, man, I want to be my own boss.
Yeah.
I want to have a team that works for me. And I hate my current job. This fucking sucks. So I want to run away from it, and hopefully this is going to be, a quick ticket to big bucks.
Yeah, exactly. And that never works. Well, actually I should caveat that. And that works some of the time, but it never carries you all the way. It can get you started, right? It can get you started. The motivation to like not to do something can get you started, and I would say it's not sustainable. It's kind of an unhealthy way, and eventually you have to pivot to having some sort of intrinsic motivation about the actual thing itself. One other one that we kind of touched on was, don't just hire a shit ton of people early on. I think before you achieve product market fit, having the team be as lean as possible is super important, because if you don't have, like the more people you have, the harder it is to pivot, to make different moves. Kind of covered that actually.
No. I think that's worth like underscoring. Yeah.
Here's one last one I'll throw out, and we'll see if James has any other final thoughts. Don't tie your ego to your startup.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that. Yes.
Human life is full of ups and downs. No matter where you are, who you are, you're gonna have ups and downs, and nothing in the world is under your control. Not even the thoughts that you think. We think, oh, things I think, that's me. Even there's going to be thoughts in your mind, let alone the things that happen in the outside world that are outside your control. And oftentimes we think, oh, my startup is under my control, and if it's not going well, that's my fault, and I'm doing something wrong. I'm not a good person. I'm not a good founder. I suck. And that is just, one, it's unhealthy, and two, it's not true. But three, it's not sustainable. It's not actually optimized for success, because that type of thinking is what's going to get you burned out and make you quit.
My last thing that I was going to say is don't tie your identity up with your startup.
Yeah.
It is, investors talk about portfolio theory, where they make multiple bets in multiple spaces to weigh out the risk scenarios of startups. They're high risk. And yet, as investors, we can often encourage founders to have basically the exact opposite investment of their entire life and identity and ego into their startup. And maybe, like you were saying a few minutes ago, maybe it helps in the beginning, but that will drain your spirit so fast.
It will destroy you.
Yeah, it's not drain. It will destroy you.
Yeah.
It will annihilate your spirit when you're thinking, okay, 7 days a week, this is the only thing that matters, and life can wait on the other side. And it's like if we survive this video and don't get hit with this surfboard, it would be like feeling like, okay, I need to catch this wave, I have to catch this wave, and everything about my life depends on me catching this wave. That will psych you out from making good decisions, from being free, loose. It'll make you just so uptight that you're a poor leader, poor person to work with, and you're going to end up, like you said, burning through your enthusiasm and energy that you have. One final one that's really relevant to us being friends doing this video and talking about that is when things are going poorly, I was so scared to tell investors like you.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I just have to solve these issues. And I felt like I needed to solve everything, and I was terrible at asking for help. And that is, I think that's the perverse opposite mentality that I see now on the other side great founders have when they're so upfront. Obviously, if someone just wants you to return 10x on their investment and that's all they want, then yeah, they aren't going to be that helpful. But 90% of the time, humans see that as an opportunity for if you're vulnerable about what you're going through, what you need help with, people rush in to want to help. Same goes for your team members when you share something really difficult that you're going through. Everybody's adults. People love to be brought into the fold. And I didn't do a good enough job of that with Tilt, with you, and with other amazing founder investors around the table. And I look back and I was like, you're a idiot, because you missed out on all of this wisdom, support, and insight that I could have had in the trenches with us by thinking, no, I just go away and I'll solve this and bring some,
Genius master plan.
Genius master plan back to you.
But more importantly, James has bounced back. He's now an investor, angel investor. You have a small fund, right? And then also the founder of a new product that I like and have invested in called Magic Mind.
This is it right here. Yeah, these little 2-ounce shots of flow state in a bottle. Nice.
We're gonna do a little product. This is a product promo. I'm not getting paid for this though. I mean, I guess in theory the company ends up to be worth something, then I will have gotten paid indirectly.
One way I think it was like a healthier, organic, more effective 5-hour energy. But another way of thinking about it is basically what I realized when I was drinking 5-6 cups of coffee a day.
That's not healthy, bro.
Not healthy. And I realized that it was not only sent me to the ER and I developed a heart condition from it, but it also was spiking my cortisol, my body stress hormone, and realized that it was actually low-grade pervasive stress and anxiety that was limiting my ability to, whatever it was, get through 40 emails, go through a meeting without being super high stress. And so I wanted an energy, a morning ritual drink that also curbed my stress while also giving me energy. And there wasn't anything out there like it. So I ended up 7 years ago tinkering around, and now, 7 years, almost 8 years later, built a company around it.
So this is like super coffee.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, basically, if you want all of the energy of your morning ritual drink and you take it alongside your coffee, alongside your tea, but you want flow state, and anyone that's had like one too many coffees knows that that's the opposite of flow state. You're all jittery and anxious. You take this with your first cup of coffee in the morning, and then, no joke, 7 to 8 hours of just flow. Your to-do list literally melts away and you're cruising. And enter promo code Justin and it'll get you 50%. I'm literally making this up, but the promo code will exist on the other side of this video. 50% off in your first purchase.
What do I get? Like 10% of that?
Yeah, you'll get a
30% of
rev
that?
share.
Rev share?
Yeah.
I'm not going to take anything. But, okay, what's in this? Matcha. I didn't mean that this is not actually supposed to be a product promo, but I'm having fun, like making fun of James here, so we're going to do it. What is in this? We got matcha gives you energy, adaptogens help you relax, nootropics keep you focused, and honey makes you happy.
Okay, my favorite thing in there that no one talks about is bacopa. Bacopa is an Indian herb that naturally decreases impulsivity. The number one killer of productivity for me is the impulsivity of wanting to jump into Facebook, Instagram, whatever, on Twitter, instead of getting what I want to get done.
Is addicted to doom scrolling.
I have,
Oh shit.
we almost died, but hey,
It was worth it. It was worth it. Okay, let me ask you what everyone's thinking. Did you just copy 5 Hour Energy and put a different sticker on it?
Dude, it's 6 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy has like 250 milligrams of caffeine, a shit ton of caffeine.
Yeah.
That is like 3 cups of coffee. This has about 35 milligrams of caffeine, and it's not caffeine that's doing the job. That's why I wrote the book, Beyond Coffee. We think coffee and tea leaves are the only things nature gives us for energy. Nature gives us a shit ton of other things.
So,
Yeah,
all right,
sorry.
let's just get to trying it. I'm gonna open this up and drink it right now. This one has been sitting in James's car, this box, for 3 months, he said, so.
You're gonna have a hell of a day afterwards.
It's a little sweet. I can taste those adaptogens. If you like this video, you know what to do. Smash subscribe, turn on video notifications, and bang that like button, and I will be your best friend forever.
And go check out my podcast if you want.
Yeah, check out his podcast, Buy Ungodly Quantities of Magic Mind.
Put it in your office, put it everywhere. Everybody's 40% more
Nobody's
productive.
going to their office.
Okay, well,
No one's going to their
maybe if you
office.
discover this YouTube video and it's 2026, get it for your office.
All right. Thanks, guys.